Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be doing a spotlight on LM Montgomery. One thing I wanted to do this year was share/highlight some of my favorite authors, and I thought, where better to start than LM Montgomery? And when I was thinking, what shirt should I wear for this video? I mean, doesn't a Canadian winter sweater with a moose and some geese make the most sense? I mean, I don't know if there's actually moose in Prince Edward Island, but there is where I am in Canada, and this screams Canada to me, and so does she, so we're going with it. If you've never been here before, my name is Chantel, and I don't normally introduce myself in videos because I like to think of us as friends that are continuing a conversation, but I feel like I should probably introduce myself like every now and then. So here's my introduction for the year. That was it. So today what I thought I would do is share all the LM Montgomery books that I own. Pretty sure I was able to grab them all from the various places that they reside in my house, and highlight different editions that I have, and then possibly even tier rank the ones that I've read. It sounds kind of difficult. I'm not doing like the cool tier ranking thing, I don't know, website or whatever people use. I just was curious to maybe put in order my favorites. We'll see how this works. So I think it would make the most sense to start with the non-fiction that I have because there's not very much of it. So one book that I got for Christmas that I've been reading ever since is The Complete Journals of LM Montgomery. I don't really understand, I do understand the topic or the title, but this is just the PEI years 1889 to 1900. So this is not the complete journals, but I guess previously they had released some selected journals. So this is everything that she wrote between these years. So far I'm on page 60 and it's phenomenal. Can't recommend this enough. I feel like her other journals, from what I know, are going to get a bit darker and maybe not be quite as enjoyable to read, but I am enjoying this so much. LM Montgomery is so much like Anne, just not quite so like maybe annoying. She doesn't get into quite the scrapes that Anne does, but she is very much an Anne. So I'm loving this. The only other nonfiction that I have, it was not actually written by LM Montgomery, and that is House of Dreams. This is by Liz Rosenberg and illustrated by Julie Morstead, who I love her illustrations. This is a biography of LM Montgomery. Now, I read this a few years ago before I had read a ton of her stuff, so I don't know if I would feel differently about this now, but I didn't really enjoy it. I mean, LM Montgomery definitely dealt with some darker stuff later in her years, and a person doesn't want to shy away from that in something like a biography, but I felt like this was a quite a depressing story of her life. So I'm curious to read it after I've read some more LM Montgomery. Maybe I'll take some time and reread it. I don't think this is something I would recommend to read, like for middle graders to read. It was interesting as an adult, but also depressing, but yeah, I need to read more, and then I'm gonna find out how much I agree with this telling of her life, probably in a few years. Okay, let's start with my Anne of Green Gables collection. This is not all of them. I have this edition of Anne of Green Gables. This is a reprint of the one that was originally published. I know that I saw an article of a museum, I think probably on the east coast of Canada, that has like one of the original Anne of Green Gables in this, with this picture of this kind of cover, but like from 100 years ago. This was sent to me by a subscriber and I love this edition. Then I have this Puffin in Bloom edition, and I have the other books in the series as well. I love the colors of this cover, the illustration, the art style. I love this all. A few years ago, quite a few years ago, I found this at the thrift store. This is it's called an illustrated classic. I don't even know who it's by, but then the edging is pink, and it's got a ribbon, and it's got a lot of this teal color on the inside, and a few illustrations throughout. So this one's pretty cool. I like seeing this on my shelf. And another edition I have is this one by, I'm not sure who. It's got the box with it, and then my only complaint with this is that this book and this box clash. because this is like a teal and this is a green, and I don't think they really go. still think they're both beautiful, but I don't think that they go together very well. Inside of this is yellow, not the best, but the illustrations on this one are probably my favorite. Let's see if I can find a good one. I just love these images. So there's that one. Then I think I only have one more, but I have so many stacks of books here. The other one that I have is the Tundra edition. These are my favorite Anne covers. I have the entire series in these covers. They're illustrated by Ellie McKay, and I follow her on Instagram, and her work is phenomenal. These are photographs. She does 3D art and then photographs it, and then that is her cover. And if you guys follow her on Instagram, she'll show some of the process. It's amazing. I love all of these covers. These unfortunately are not in print anymore, which is frustrating because they weren't in print for many years, but often you can find these editions on Book Outlet. So I have the whole series. We've got Anne of Green Gables, and of course my stack is backwards. Anne of Avonlea. I love the colors on this. This is such a good autumn read because of these colors. Anne of the Island, and Anne of Windy Poplars. So I named my Patreon tiers based off of these books because I love them that much. Anne's House of Dreams, Anne of Ingleside, Rainbow Valley, I think this order is right, yeah, and then Rilla of Ingleside. And I have feelings about this book. So where should we go from here? That was all my Anne books and that Anne series. I do have a couple of the Anne series in a different edition. These ones are a special collector's edition. I'm not sure who they're by, and they're a little different than these other ones. I have Anne of the Island in this one, Anne of Ingleside, Anne's House of Dreams, and Anne of Windy Poplars in this, which is a seal book, McClelland Bantam ink. I have no idea. I got these three all out of a little free library, so that's pretty cool. Going back to the Tundra editions, I have the Emily series, so Emily of New Moon. I've read this one. And then Emily Climbs normally lives on my TBR cart because this is my next one to read. I need to read it in 2023. It is one of my goal books. And then Emily's Quest is the final of this. Emily is a lot like Anne, but not as optimistic, a little bit darker, a little bit more of a realist. There's those ones. And then, where to go from here? Let's continue with my Tundra editions. I already expressed my love for these editions, but I feel like Ellie McKay knocked these out of the park. There's the Blue Castle. This is just phenomenal. I mean, the cover and the book. Jane of Lantern Hill. Look how cool that is. And if you can imagine her doing this in 3D, that makes it even better. Mistress Pat, which is oddly book number 2 in a duology, and they didn't print book 1 in this edition. So I have some problems with that. And then some of my absolute favorites, The Story Girl and The Golden Road. Also absolutely gorgeous. I love these autumnal colors. Okay, I have a few more books to show you, and then I'm gonna highlight some of my favorites. Magic for Marigold. I found this in a little free library. Haven't read it yet, but I think it's really cute. This is the same edition as some of those other Anne books that I have. Then I recently, I found, no, I think Holly gave me this one. Pat of Silver Bush. I bought it from her Instagram where she sells books. I think Pat of Silver Bush. So this is book 1 in this series. So I have book 1 in this and book 2 in this. I'm a little OCD. This kind of bothers me a bit. Why didn't they make it in this edition? I'll try to move on. And then I found these recently from a used bookstore. Chronicles of Avonlea and Further Chronicles of Avonlea. And this reminds me that I forgot a book again. I always forget a book. I have one more here though. Christmas with LM Montgomery. This is 3 of her short stories that have to do with Christmas, one of which is set in Saskatchewan where I live, so I love that. And I read this entire thing this last Christmas. And then the book that I forgot to pull out is The Poetry of Lucy Maud Montgomery. I just shared this in my last haul. I have to say it again, worst cover ever. but I'm excited to actually read her poetry. So that is all of the L.M. Montgomery books that I think I own. Now I want to highlight a couple of my favorites. If you are new to L.M. Montgomery, or you've read a couple of her books but you want to read more but you don't know where to start, let me tell you. First of all, I want to highlight the journals. I am only on page 60, so maybe it's too early to recommend this, but I am loving it so much. If you guys can see all those tabs that I'm putting in there, they're all things that I enjoy. The orange ones generally mean it's something I don't enjoy, and that is just the fact that she's so honest in these journals, and she often talks about people she doesn't like, and I would be horrified to be related to, like, be a descendant of one of these people and read the terrible things she writes. But her writing is exquisite. And then another one of my favorites has to be The Story Girl. Another one that I have tabbed up like crazy. So many things that I've loved in here. Here's a random line I just flipped open to one of my tabs. It says, "He can't do anything to us, you know," said the Story Girl. "He may be rude, but that won't hurt anyone but himself." What a good line. I need to make my 12-year-old read this. Here's another good line. Like, there's so many good ones. "He just stays at home and reads books when he isn't working. Mother says he's a perfect hermit." And then my little note that I wrote here is, "What's wrong with that?" Sounds like a good life to me. I love this book. We follow Sarah Stanley, who goes and visits her cousins in Prince Edward Island for 2 years. I think this one follows 1 year, and then The Golden Road follows the next year, but it's been a while, so I don't remember that exactly. This one's still really good, but there's something sad that happens that you can feel coming throughout the book, so I feel a little sad when I think about this book, but this one is a lot of fun times. The next one I need to highlight is Anne of Avonlea. Now, if you've read Anne of Green Gables and felt like she wasn't quite for you, you didn't like her personality a ton, it wasn't a bad book, but you just don't see what everyone sees in the book, please continue to book 2. Anne mellows out in here and really blossoms into a woman, I feel like, in this one, and she's not as impulsive, maybe is a good word, in this book, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite of the series, although one that I keep thinking of in the series that I didn't give the best rating to is Rilla of Ingleside. I've never cried so much in a book before. This book broke my heart, and I love that she could do that, like through a fictional story. Okay, I'm gonna highlight one last of her books. That is The Blue Castle. This one, I feel like if you're gonna be talking to someone about L.M. Montgomery's books and they don't want to recommend something from the Anne series, they don't want to oh, my throat. They don't want to recommend the Anne series to you, or you've already read it or whatever, I feel like this is people's next recommendation. It is quite different. Our main character, her name is Valency. She's 29 and she's never been in love. She always does what her family asks, and they're kind of mean to her, like always saying how she's always going to be a spinster. And then right at the beginning of the book, she gets this devastating news that she only has 1 year to live, and she changes her life based on that. Like, if she only has 1 year, how does she want to spend it? And I love books with that premise. As someone with a few chronic illnesses, this is something I think about often. We are all going to die. Sometimes it seems like people are surprised by that thought, and I don't mean to be like harsh or whatever, but like I think about this for my own life. I am going to die, and how do I want to spend this life that I have, this one, who knows how very short life that I have? And I like books with that premise, and so I found this book very interesting. Okay, so I haven't even talked about like the way L.M. Montgomery writes and how you can feel like immersive in her stories. I could go on about her forever, but I won't. I really wanted to highlight some of the pretty books that I own by her, and I just want more people reading some of her books. So let me know, what are your favorites of hers? I still have a few more of hers I haven't read, which I'm thankful for, and then a few on my wish list that are a little bit harder to find, that I'm looking through old bookstores to find. I'm gonna be sad when the day comes that my L.M. Montgomery collection is complete, but I'm also going to be excited. So let me know if you have a love for L.M. Montgomery or want to try her out. Let's talk about her in the comments. Thanks so much for being here, guys.